We have a horrific job report today coming from ADP. This was the headline. The private sector lost 33,000 jobs in June, badly missing expectations for a 100,000 increase. So, again, this is coming from ADP. Very, very different than what people are expecting. 33,000 jobs to the downside, right? Lost. They were expecting a gain of 100,000. Some of the key points: private sector hiring unexpectedly contracted in June. Payrolls processing firm ADP said. So again, this is just from one source, ADP. We're still waiting for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Their numbers, I think they come out tomorrow morning. And then also says here, potential sign that the economy may not be as sturdy as investors believe. Now, this obviously is probably no surprise to you guys. I always say this stuff. What is your experience on the ground? Are people hiring? Are they firing? Are they, freezing things? I want to hear from your neck of the woods, because oftentimes how this data is collected, you're contacting, right, and using data from multiple sources, multiple cities, multiple markets, multiple companies. And this does not include all of the Doge stuff where they're firing people, right? So this is just private sector. Let's read a little bit more here. It says private payrolls lost 33,000 jobs in June. The ADP report showed the first decrease since March 2023. Economists polled by the Dow Jones forecast an increase of 100,000 for the month. The May job growth was revised even lower to 29,000 jobs added from the 37. So they do this oftentimes. They're giving out in estimates, and then maybe next month the job loss is even more than the 33,000 that we're talking about. So it could get really, really ugly. This also says here that we're expecting unemployment to go up to 4.3 from 4.2%. Again, we're going to get the BLS numbers tomorrow. A lot of these jobs, according to ADP here, it says in services. So I'll read it. It says service roles hit hardest. The bulk of job losses came in service roles tied to professional and business services and health and education. Professional business services notched a decline of 56,000, while health and education saw a net loss of 52,000. And I want to hear from you guys again in your neck of the woods. This was also announced today. Microsoft is laying off 9,000, and they may not be done. We'll read some details of this, and Microsoft's a big company. You guys know this. It's just not a good sign. Um, Says, quote, we continue to implement organizational changes necessary to best position the company and teams for success in the dynamic marketplace. That's coming from Microsoft. I guess that was an email. Also says, in January, it cut less than 1% of headcount based on performance. The 50-year-old software company slashed more than 6,000 jobs in May, 300 more in June, and then last year that laid off 10,000. And so this new announcement of 9,000 job cuts is I mean, it's probably going to continue. So companies aren't hiring, right? You can see this, and I've seen that before in other reports too, where you may see job openings out there, but they're not hiring. You could say it's economic uncertainty. What's the economy doing? It's tariff uncertainty. What's Trump doing? And then also, we don't even know if they're passing that big beautiful bill or whatever stupid thing that they're calling it, which we'll get into a bit. We talk about a lot on the channel where I think now there's infighting with the GOP, the Republicans, right? So basically, how much do we want to cut to Medicare, Medicaid? Various representatives, their constituents, right? Their voters are finding out that they're going to get hurt badly by this stuff, and then you have layoffs. From our community, someone mentioned this, and I'd be curious if anyone, again, in your neck of the woods, I'd like to hear from your circumstance. So this person says, CB says, so I got word from an ocean export manager that DHL is pulling most of its work from the US and sending it overseas. So I can't confirm the stuff, but I just said I want to hear from you guys. Our friend at management level was laid off in the purge. DHL is based in Germany and is part of the EU. Many companies HQ'd overseas provide jobs here. It would be sad if it was part of a trend to get around tariffs. What if the EU decided to reshore more jobs to Europe? It's not impossible, right? And I checked on that. So this is again someone would have a friend, hey, my friend got laid off. That's the kind of stuff you'll hear about. That may not necessarily make headlines, but it's something that part of a larger trend. So for example, back in February, so this is stuff that I just found. I was looking myself. DHL creates 600 jobs at new 230 million UK hubs. So that's certainly a possibility. If you're in UK, let me know. Because again, you want to hear about actual people on the ground and the jobs actually there. And this is the same for any, company, any announcement. Are they really hiring or not? So, for example, this one, this was news to me. I was unaware of this, but it's not shocking. This is back in April, so a few months ago. It says here, DHL halts international deliveries to U.S. consumers worth over $800. So I don't think DHL is that popular in the USA. I can say abroad it is, outside the USA. It's definitely used. I've used DHL several times, but you could certainly see this kind of situation to where many companies pull their operations from the USA for the tariff reasons, for the economic reasons, etc. And yes, maybe reshoring could be a thing. To be fair, and I just want to show you guys everything I can. This one was an interesting article. They were saying be very skeptical of ADP report showing economy lost jobs for the first time in years. So wait for more numbers to come out. Basically, what they're saying because we're not necessarily looking at everything, and ADP is not necessarily reliable. CNBC also said that also. So I know a lot of people will be celebrating job losses. Oh, look how bad Trump is, but I also want to make it clear, yes, I don't like Trump or his policies, but I don't necessarily celebrate that people lose their jobs. I want to make sure that that's really, really clear because I think people fall too much in the trap of like, oh yeah, look at Trump is losing stuff like that. But these are real people's jobs out there, right? The same way that if people get their health care cut or food services cut, I mean, those are real people being affected. So always be aware of this stuff, and also understand that how this data is collected. Again, it comes from a variety of sources. It can get the numbers can change a month after they release the initial numbers. And the big one though is this article expressed, which I agree is, it's not good though is when the estimates are so far off, right? If ADP was, or economists were thinking, hey, we expected ADP payrolls to come in at, 100,000 to the plus side and it came out negative 33. That's actually not a good sign. But, I'm not shocked by this stuff because I read through everything. I can see what's going on. I hear from you guys. The big one for me I saw recently was basically young people are just graduating college now, and the job market is bleak. That's what I've been hearing. And then when I see Microsoft, is laying off, I think you guys kind of get where we're going. This is tomorrow morning. This is what we're expecting, so you have a general idea of what to expect tomorrow. It says here, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is due to release June employment data on Thursday morning. Here's what economists surveyed by Factsheet are expecting. So they're expecting payrolls 115,000, lower than May's 139, and then unemployment to go up to 4.3. And then people are thinking, okay, is this enough for the Fed to cut rates or not? They say here it is unlikely that a moderate jobs report will prompt the central bank to cut interest rates at its next meeting. That's probably correct. The Fed right now, again, the tariff is the major uncertainty, so they don't want to do that's according to Powell, at least, do anything drastic until there's some more certainty there. But I mean, who knows when that's going to happen? Trump keeps changing his mind on a day-to-day basis. The argument would be is okay. The economy is slowing. The Fed needs to cut rates in order to encourage borrowing, and companies will hire a bunch more because they can theoretically borrow more money and their borrowing costs will go down, and consumers theoretically will have lower borrowing costs so they can buy more houses, buy more cars, put more stuff on their credit card. But I just, in my opinion, I feel like that process is, how's the right word to say it, is based on a lot of hopes and dreams of like best case scenario, right? Because think of it this way: if I just got fired by Microsoft, which is announced today, and even if the Fed were to lower rates, let's say tomorrow, I mean, suddenly is Microsoft then going to turn around and just hire back those 9,000 people? I just don't think it's going to work like that, right? So no matter what the Fed decides, which I don't think they're necessarily going to act quickly, don't expect it to happen, the change in the economy to happen right away. The Trump people will try to, claim whatever victories, but I mean, just be cautious on this stuff because the other issue is if the Fed starts getting, more aggressive and say cutting, for example, and suddenly start printing money and start introducing all this, cheap money into the markets and the economy, et cetera. What do you think is going to happen to inflation? Yeah, it's going to go up even further. And then you have to think about where the tariff's going to be, where people are paying more for goods. I mean, that's going to basically stuff's going to cost you more. I mean, Trump was just announcing, we talked about in the last video, increasing tariffs on Vietnam to 20%, which you're going to pay. I mean, it looks bleak. And then there was another point that was brought up by at CNBC, which I think is really important to mention. With June jobs report looming, Doge government layoffs could start becoming a factor. Meaning that, think of it this way. Remember, Musk's goal was to fire everyone in the government, right? So companies aren't hiring, and in fact, say in Microsoft's situation, companies are laying off, and then you have a bunch of government workers that were laid off, right, due to Musk. Um, then they're going to be looking for work, right? So do you guys understand the problem here? So like you have all these people that need jobs, and Trump's promising to bring back all these factory jobs, but that's not materializing. It could get really, really ugly, and unfortunately, people aren't honest with you about this stuff, and I find that deeply frustrating. I know it's not fun to talk about the bad news, but I mean it's just reality, right? And in my opinion, I think this is something that regular people talk about in their daily lives. Hey, I'm looking for a job. What's going on? And I've had friends in USA the last couple of years that searching for a job at a close friend, and I think it took him like well over a year to finally get something. And now he's got something. To be fair, but I do know that they rely on Thailand and Japan because I think my friend works for a Japanese company. I think my one friend he works in laser printers. And I'm sure the tariffs absolutely kill them. I haven't asked them recently about their situation, but I would doubt that they are hiring. That's just one friend, and that's at a relatively small company. I have other friends. I have another friend I was thinking about that he works in LA and Hollywood, but basically has been looking for work for it's got to be well over a year now. And I know that there are other people struggling out there also to where even if you have a job, it just doesn't pay enough for these costs. So I know it can be quite frustrating when you flip on the news and it's like, Republicans are always acting like everything is great and we're gonna, kick out all these farm workers and hotel workers. And then Trump changed his mind. No, we need to keep farm and hotel workers. And it's just like, my opinion on this stuff is if Trump keeps his promises, for example, and deports all the people who work in construction, or all the Americans suddenly going to have jobs that work in construction, is the person who is laid off from Microsoft, are they going to go work on roofing your house? And then you guys already know the answer, probably not, right? And so then you get this kind of situation. Americans are struggling with layoff anxiety. It's causing workers to burn out faster. I'll read a little bit of this. In the wake of the high profile layoffs, many workers are feeling anxious about job security, which is completely understandable. U.S. employers reported nearly 700,000 job cuts in the first 5 months of 2025. So that's according to outplacement services firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. And it says here, and 80% increase compared to job cuts in the first 5 months of 2024. So basically, and more people are feeling concerned about their job situation, which I completely understand. And then you have people who are concerned about their healthcare situation, which I completely understand. I made a video about this stuff regarding Trump's basic lies. I encourage you to watch this. I know a lot of people didn't watch this video, but it's important to understand because the whole plan that they have is like, okay, kick out all bunch of workers, right? That was their plan, which is Trump is backing off on. And then the markets are driving up on, hey, we're going to replace everyone with AI and robots. So a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, and they feel like a lot of these people are callous in the Trump administration, meaning they don't care about you, and it's frustrating. And I just want to have an honest conversation about this stuff. So please share your thoughts of what's going on in your neck of the woods at your companies. Have you heard of similar sort of thing? This is honestly a pretty big news with the Microsoft stuff, and we'll get more job data tomorrow from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next video.